The new UCS Jabba Sail Barge is just about to release and reactions have been mixed. While it's a great set, many argue that it's way too expensive. But today I want to look at its predecessor, 2013's Jabba Sail Barge, to see if this build actually puts up a better value for its price. So strap in and let's get into it. Funnily enough, this is one of the Star Wars models with the fewest representations ever in LEGO, especially considering its importance in the movies. The only other two have been 2006 Jabba Sail Barge and the brand new UCS one. That is the one which moved me to make this video, just because I wanted to see how this one holds up, especially because it's a bit of an older set by now. Originally, it released more than a decade ago in what many consider to be LEGO Star Wars' best year ever, 2013. I might actually make a video on that topic, so if that's something you want, tell me in the comments. While that year featured a lot of episode 2 sets, it also finished the Jabba's Empire mini sub-theme, started in 2012, which included the Desert Skiff, Jabba's Palace, the Rancor Pit, and well, this set. With a retail price of $120 US, this set was also far from cheap, especially adjusted for inflation, after which this set would have cost $162. So I guess you could say being expensive is just something that all Jabba Sail Barges have in common. With that enormous price also comes a piece count of 850 pieces, which is decent, but the more interesting part are probably the 6 figures featured in the set. Now, as you can immediately see, there aren't 6 figures here. That's because I'm missing Pagetti Rook, the Weequay Skiff Guard. I bought the set used, which is why he wasn't included in that set, but still, the minifigure selection here is actually pretty crazy. Up first, we've got Slave Leia, probably one of the most controversial LEGO minifigures of all time. Explaining the drama around this figure could be a video of its own, but let's just say, for a decade, it seemed like this was going to be the last figure of this version of Leia. Most notably, obviously her rather revealing clothes, only consisting of a bikini and a loincloth. The mix of dark red, gold, and the light nougat flesh tone work really well together here and match her look from the movie. To either side of her stomach, you'll also be able to spot these dark areas, which are of course here to give her a slimmer statue. Around her neck is a classic neck brace piece from LEGO, which connects to the chain on her back, by which she is held by Jabba in the movie. The same chain is later used to choke Jabba to death, which gives her the nickname Hutt Slayer, to which she's referred to sometimes in its outfit as well. Now, the face with the accentuated lips looks really good, even though her alternative, mad face, probably gives us a better representation of her feelings in this scene. Topping off this figure is the hair, which looks stellar. It's such a great piece, including the golden hair ornament into it and perfectly working around the chain. Comparing this figure to its newer counterpart, there's pros and cons. The newer one's hair is even better than this, but when it comes to the outfit and face, this one is better in my opinion. Of course, I totally get why the new outfit couldn't be as accurate, and I'm not one to clutch my pearls just because I can't see a LEGO figure's ass, but it is something to be acknowledged. Now, another figure that also got a remake in the new Jabba Sail Barge is the man, the myth, the legend, Max Rebo. For 10 years, this was the only figure of this character, and let's be real here, it's not made any less exclusive by releasing an almost exact replica in a $500 set. Talking about this figure is a fairly quick endeavor. He uses a completely blank set of legs and torso, the only standout being the head. It is obviously a uniquely modeled piece, and it just looks so wonderfully odd. This is truly a creature you wouldn't find outside of a Star Wars movie, and LEGO manages to capture that feeling. The back, the tendrils, the trunk, everything is just so funny looking and definitely makes this figure as great as it is, which is why LEGO also made nearly no changes on its newer version. Jabba the Hutt is the third figure for a review here. In total, Jabba has actually only featured in 5 sets, one of them being the new Jabba Sail Barge. This version of his is honestly just a really good figure. I don't know whether it can be classified as a minifig or a big fig or something in between, but it's a decent figure. His long, voluptuous body is portrayed very well here, with wrinkles adding detail to the otherwise smooth surface, all the way down to the very end of his tail. On the upper body, we are introduced to some tan printing, which is not only accurate, but also breaks up the otherwise very green color scheme. You can move around the whole torso, spinning at 360 degrees, and both of his arms move as well. There's actually some printing on the right one, which is a detail I never noticed when watching the movie, so heads off. The face showcases Jabba's typical grin, and the orange eyes may be a little too bright, but they are surprisingly detailed, with his pupils and irises being visible. Honestly, this figure is damn near perfect, and I think the new one, while still using the same mold, has improved even further over this one. Also reappearing in the UCS Jabba Sail Barge is R2-D2, acting as a server essentially. This was actually the last time the old R2-D2 was used, meaning onwards they switched to the silver dome. That might be one of the smartest decisions LEGO Star Wars has ever made, because out of all the figures in this set, this one has definitely aged the worst. Don't get me wrong, the printing on the body isn't inherently bad, but just comparing it to a more recent version of R2, the difference becomes abundantly clear. As mentioned, the dome in grey just looks off, but inserting the tray in between it and the body is pretty clever and still the technique used today. Overall, this figure gets obliterated by its most recent counterpart, and it's not even close. Apart from the missing Pagetti Rook, the only character not getting a remake in the new UCS set is Ree-Yees, the only minifigure depicting a Gran. Let's cover the legs and the torso very quick so we can get to the incredible head mold. The legs are plain and would definitely have needed some printing, since it's definitely a distracting factor here. Moving up, the torso is fairly uneventful, but we run into the the typical issue of printing lighter colors on darker bases. As you can see right below his neck, the color of his skin on the torso does not match the molded piece. It's a common issue and one I'm planning on making a short on sometime in the future. Now we get to the head though, and it's a beautiful piece. It perfectly manages to capture every important detail of the grands, like the weirdly extended mouth, the 3 eyes and the odd ears. I do expect to see this mold at some point in the future again, since it reminds me of Nogata, who had an exclusive head mold for 6 years before that was reused as well. Including a mold like that in a $500 set would definitely have made a good argument for the set, especially because the minifigure selection is fairly small. With this set, you get 6 figures at a price point of an adjusted $160, while the new Jabba Sail Barge provides you with 11 at $500. There should have been way more, and the truth is, in terms of value, this set right here outperforms the UCS one, but the question now is, can the build keep up as well? Jabba Sail Barge is part of one of the most iconic scenes in Star Wars, maybe in all of film. Despite that, we've only gotten this model 3 times, which means the build has to deliver now. There are no other side builds, no Sarlacc Pit, no Desert Skiff, just the ship with a bit of interior, as we'll come to see in a moment. I'm going to be honest, from the very start, this build is smaller than I expected, or well, hoped for. In height, this set measures about 20 centimeters, in length 43, and it's got a width of around 23 centimeters with the back flaps folded out. Now, size doesn't determine everything, but at a price point of $160, I would hope for the build to do justice to its movie counterpart. This smaller size also immediately becomes a problem when looking at the sails. It's undoubtable that they looked a little weird on top of this build. Now, I looked at reference images to find my issue with it because originally I just thought they might be too big. But they aren't. The issue is they are too high up. There would be a fairly easy fix, even if it's still an oversight by Lego, but you can't pull them down further because now they'd be in the way of the minifigs. So the size already causes some problems, but I have to admit, the sails are pretty great other than that. They have a unique shape, their plastic texture gives them a good amount of stability, and the printing just elevates them from normal sails, similarly to Lord of the Rings pirate ship Ambush. For the sake of visibility, I've taken them off, and as you can see, there's a bit of space for minifigs on top of the ship. In the middle, we've got the iconic turret, able to turn 360 degrees and fire off flick-fire missiles. Back here is another, smaller mounted gun, which can be operated by whatever figure is available. As I've said, the space isn't that big here, but the railing both in the front and the back is built pretty well, using a bendable rod on one and angled slopes, to which I'll get later, on the other side. The whole exterior of the build is quite sturdy, even though in the movie it's actually rather smooth. In that aspect, the UCS version definitely improved, even if not by a whole lot. To add some detail to the otherwise fairly bland and sturdy outside, there are a load of stickers spread across the build, and even though I just dunked on the roughness of the exterior, it's still really well built. Especially the bag, with its 3 angled slope pieces to create an almost round shape, is quite incredible. To also match the Khetanna's features from the movie, you can actually open some of these flat slabs to simulate Jabba and the other passengers watching the execution of Luke and his friends. A major positive that comes from the snod, plated approach Lego designers took on the exteriors as well is that you can fold down every single part to gain access to the interior. On the very back of the ship, we find Max Reber's instrument. It perfectly fits into the rounded off section of the ship and can spin fully in both directions. Right next to it is Jabba's rest. It's got this funny red and green pattern, but it just completely disappears underneath Jabba. He's such a big figure that even fitting Leia into the ship next to him becomes a more difficult endeavor. Even a room further, Jabba's tail is still peeking in. In here seems to be a small kitchen with a kettle and the meat hanging from the ceiling. There's also a little pan right next to the prison door here, leading into the cell towards the very front. Before we look at that though, keep in mind these red 1x1, since they'll become relevant in a second. The cell is pretty small and I don't even really know who's supposed to go in here, but extra interior is never a bad thing. Now, I've shown you pretty much the whole build except for the front. The new set has a cockpit section in here, which is the best possible option in my opinion. Since this build is so limited by its size though, they instead opted for something else, that being a cannon. It's instantly pushed forward when lifting up the middle section, and its ammunition comes from the little area next to the cell. It's one of the old cannon pieces and shoots quite far, just as they always used to. That finishes up my rambling about the build, which is why I'll now judge how good the set is in relation to its brand new UCS counterpart. Now, I think, unlike on some of my other reviews, I've been really nuanced when talking about this set. It's one I hold dear to my heart, but it's undoubtedly very flawed. Similar to its new version, this set is also definitely overpriced and carries some deep issues. In terms of figures, this set definitely provides better value for what you're paying, but in terms of everything else, the new one blows this one out of the water, as it should for a $500 set. Comparing the two is difficult, and honestly, I'd put them on the same level in terms of value. Both rather expensive, even in terms of LEGO Star Wars. If you want a comparison to another set, I'd recommend you check out this review right here of the Bad Batch Attack Shuttle, and if you're just in the mood for more Star Wars content, check out this playlist right here, in which I talk about everything LEGO Star Wars related you can imagine. Speaking of, look forward to the next video, since it will also be about the recent wave of Star Wars sets.